Welcome to the Neophyte in the Woods podcast with Andrew McDowell.
Thank you for tuning in to the Neophyte in the Woods podcast, a proud member of the Change Your POV podcast family. I'm your host, Andrew, and today we're joined by my good friend, Trey Caraway of BluFor Tactical. Trey, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? It's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to hear your voice again. I haven't heard it, November? Last time we talked?
Yeah. I think that was when I stole it from you. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, that'll sting a little bit. Folks who don't know will get the whole sad story of that later on. Sad for me, not so much for Trey. But tonight we're just going to talk about Trey's another avid hunter. He's also you're still active in the Army, correct?
Yeah. So I am active for the National Guard here in North Carolina. Okay. I work for them full time.
So Trey is an active member of our National Guard down in North Carolina. He also owns BluFor Tactical, which is a firearms training company.
Yep.
Trey, you want to start off telling us a little bit about your company and maybe what's coming down the pike for you guys?
Yeah, so we're working on opening an indoor range here in my part of North Carolina. We've got a couple in the area. We'll leave it at that.
Yep.
We've got a couple. So I'm trying to do something that those places aren't. One is decent prices, and the other is customer service.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some other things that we're looking to do to set us apart that you know about that we're not going to talk about on air because we don't want folks to, because I've already had 2 business plans stolen from underneath me. But we got some things that are going to set us apart. We do a lot of training, do a lot of concealed carry, a lot of advanced courses. So basically, what I do as an infantryman for the Army is I teach civilians how to be infantrymen, because just because you can shoot a gun doesn't mean you know how to fight with a gun. Those are 2 different things. And if you have to use a firearm to defend yourself, well, I like teaching folks how to do that the right way.
And you have some very, I would say, strong opinions based on some of our conversations about what the right gun is. I'm just thinking, like my wife, we were talking about pistols for her while we were heading out to go hunt deer in November, and I was talking about a smaller gun, and you basically, and I think correctly, were saying that's not necessarily the right decision. Just because it's small, it doesn't mean it's the right choice.
Yeah, that's right. So my wife shoots. We met. We've been married almost 9 years now. We've been together for about 10, and she had shot before, but she never had a class. So I got her, and we're in the range, and we're actually giving instruction, and I've got pictures of her shooting stainless steel police issued 1911s with her Springfield XDS in her back in a holster while she's shooting the 1911. People have the misconception that because someone is small or because they're a female, the best thing to do is in fact get a small pistol. Well, the only thing a small pistol is good for is concealing. Or backup, depending on how large you are and what your TTPs or your tactics, techniques, and procedures are. Because small pistols typically have more recoil.
Yep.
Statistically, there are some that don't. like the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. They have a tighter buffer spring. Because they have a tighter buffer spring, they have just as much recoil as their full-size pistol, but less than something in the same family. But the consideration there is because the buffer spring's tighter, you have a harder time pulling the slide back if you're not familiar with that firearm. So in the realm of firearm and concealed carrying with somebody, sometimes smaller is not better, because that person, if they're not going to train, if they can't train, or whatever's going on, that smaller pistol might not be the right thing, because without the proper fundamentals, it might be a control issue when they go to shoot it.
Yeah, that's a point, and a great point, well taken. We actually, after you and I talked, we ended up getting a full-size M&P for her, and she shoots it better than I do.
It's a good pistol.
It's a great pistol, especially, you know, you tune the trigger a little bit and, you know, shorten it up. It's not quite a tack driver, but it could get there.
Oh, so I think any pistol can be a tack driver. Any firearm can be a tack driver within its own limits. When you get into the science of it, you know, like an AR-15 out the box, nothing special, is a 2-minute of angle gun, meaning at 100 yards is going to shoot about a 2-inch group. But there are things you can do as an individual with fundamentals for pistols, you know, 15 yards and in, that'll make you shoot really, really small holes. And there's no added things you need to do to the pistol. It's just squaring away those fundamentals. There's only 4. And what I've learned I'm 37, and my dad started teaching me how to shoot when I was 6. And, you know, the 17 years I've been in the Army, and as a firearms instructor like our good friend Mike Penny, what I have found is that good pistol shooters always make good rifle shooters, but good rifle shooters don't always make good pistol shooters. And it's a psychological thing. It has nothing to do with them not being able to execute fundamentals. It's with pistols, it becomes psychological. And people do a lot of things different because they're shooting a firearm. It's a controlled explosion in the hand. But they don't have that big stock. They don't have that weight. They don't have it pulled into their body. It's just their hands and their arms. And then psychology of it takes over. And as someone who's been teaching for quite some time, you can get fundamentals all day long. Everybody can shoot great with a rifle. Put a pistol in their hand, and you got to give them past their own psychology of why they're messing up. And once you do that, man, anybody can shoot.
So what do you see? I mean, past the you know, we're going from a long gun to a pistol. Like, what's the number one issue that you see? You know, maybe not psychologically, but in terms of, you know, firearm manipulation that hangs people up.
Yep. So I said psychologically. I probably should have said subconscious. So subconsciously, with a pistol, people think they have to do, the technical term for it is what's called anticipating the round, meaning that when they shoot, they push the round down. So they're actually pushing forward right before they pull the trigger. And because they're pulling the trigger and there's a recoil that follows that, you really don't tell, the person can't tell that they're doing it. So the way to fix that is use what we call dummy rounds or snap caps, right? I load your rounds for you. You don't know where that snap cap's going to be. You shoot, and then there's a click, and then you can, not only do I see that dramatic push down, but then you feel it. And once you feel it, usually, in my experience, the first time a person feels that, is usually they don't do it anymore. Sometimes you might get a second time, every now and then a third time, but usually, once they feel their mechanics pushing that pistol forward, they'll stop. The second thing is that the trigger manipulation. Most folks, they'll there's talk about how much finger to pull on the trigger. That's another class. I've got my own theories on that, and we've talked about it. But it's just slapping that trigger, or just letting it. Bad trigger manipulation is one. So the top 3 for me is anticipation around bad trigger manipulation, and the one that gets almost everybody, because it is more difficult to line up sights on a pistol than it is a rifle, is just not aiming at the same spot at the same time. They think they are, but they're not because of their sight alignment. So those 3 things are the 3 things that I see, just because the body makeup of shooting a pistol versus shooting a rifle is a little bit different.
Great. That's great information. I know that I shoot USPSA. I used to shoot IDPA, but there's too many rules. And
Right.
with USPSA, I'm shooting more, and I'm shooting more competitively, and I'm definitely seeing, not just with myself, but a lot of the competitors, including the guys that are like nationally ranked. I shoot with a guy who's the top pistol caliber carbine shooter in the country. Like he's
Right.
lights out amazing. Does the exact same thing. You know, he's one of the best shooters in the country, and every once in a while you see him start to anticipate the recoil just a little bit. And I mean, granted, when he's shooting pistols, he's shooting something that's ported and compensated out, you know, up the wazoo. It's a $5,000-$6,000 gun, but you
Right.
still see it, and that's, you know, but he corrects for it. Like he's good enough to stop himself through that trigger, halfway through that trigger pull, correct it, bring it back on target, and you know,
Yep.
and go for it.
And the guys that do this, whether it's for competition or if it is for, or you know, for lack of a better terminology, professional gunfighters, man.
Mhm.
Whether they're police officers, whether they're special weapons and tactics, whether they're any of our soft units, or you know, or you know, just an infantryman like myself, train these folks. We all do it. It's just one of those things. Fatigue does it. You know, you're getting a routine. You're shooting, and then you just get tired.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You get tired. You start losing those fundamentals. But the basics, whether it's in a gunfight, whether it's in a shooting competition, whether it's in any sport, or whether it's in a street fight or a sanctioned fight, basics usually is what wins it.
Mhm.
And if you can master the 4 fundamentals of shooting, those 4 basic items of stable position, breathing, trigger manipulation, and sight alignment / sight picture, you can shoot any platform that you put your hands on as long as you have those 4 things down.
That's awesome. You know, and that's, you know, one of the things that I love talking about you with is, you know, you do a great job, and I'm not blowing smoke here. You do a great job, like breaking it down and talking to me like I'm an idiot, because I am. But, you know, like explaining it in a really kind of straightforward way without, you know, everybody talks about, you know, with a lot of jargon in the firearms community, and you
Right.
you don't, which I think is terrific. And, you know, if there's
Well, I
anybody,
appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. If there's anybody
And-
down in North Carolina, I absolutely think that you're the person to go talk to.
I appreciate that, and I think that's one of the things that's going to set us apart once we get everything open here where we are, is because it's just that. And I don't know what's like in Massachusetts, but in North Carolina, the problem we have with the typical gun store is, for me, I equate it to going into a Harley dealership and not riding up on a Harley, or if you don't ride up on a Harley, not knowing the folks there because you ride Harleys with them. It's hard to get decent customer service.
Yeah.
So we want a customer service aspect of it. We also know that the largest demographic right now in the firearm community are women. It's growing exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
And there's various reasons. Something's happened to them. Something's happened to a friend or loved one, or they have a conversation with someone like me and goes, "Hey, look, I'm not trying to persuade you whether you think a firearm's right for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to persuade you whether you think the Second Amendment should be there or shouldn't be there. All I'm going to offer is a free introductory to pistol class. You just let me know when you want to do it. It's free to you, because, you know, sometimes people don't want to pay. But you give them that free class. You let them know that you're really there to educate the population on what's really going on, what it's really about, why we feel the way we feel, why we do what we do, and then you win them over.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk down to them, because just because you can do something doesn't mean you can teach something. And being an instructor, and Mike's talked about it, being an instructor is not that easy, because you have to figure out what the person doesn't understand first, why they don't understand it, to then be able to relate it to them in such a way that the light switch clicks and the bulb turns on. And I think between myself and the folks that I work with, I think that's what sets us apart, is because we take the time to educate, but before we educate, we listen to figure out what we need to educate them on, and we do it in such a way it makes them want to come back.
You know, that's terrific philosophy. You know, we see the similar thing up here in Massachusetts. You know, I've been really lucky in my firearms instruction. Guy who's a former, you know, retired Marine, now a cop down in one of the smaller communities around here. You know,
Right.
I've taken a lot of classes from him, and you know, he's a great instructor. But I also know people who have taken courses from some of the larger firearms educations, quote unquote, facilities out around here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hit or miss. You know,
Right.
they have a prescribed curriculum that they have to teach you, but they don't give you individualized instruction. You know, they
Right.
they give you the classroom, and that's the same. It's whatever the NRA tells them to deliver, plus a little
Right.
bit about Massachusetts insane gun laws.
Right.
And,
Correct. Insane. Right.
Yeah, insane. We agree there.
We agree there. So, I am a supporter of the NRA for what they do, with the education portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
as a certified NRA instructor, and I teach some of the classes, I have an issue with how they deliver some of their classwork material because you're not able to individualize it. So I have my certification so I can teach concealed carry here in North Carolina. So North Carolina law states that if you are not a law enforcement officer, but whatever PPSB, Personal Protective Service Bureau, I think is what it stands for, qualifications from some sort of law enforcement agency, you must be a certified intro to pistol instructor from the NRA. And I got it. That means you've had some training. You're instructing. I got it. But the issue that I have with the way the NRA teaches basic pistol, and I understand why they do it, because in NRA class you don't say weapon. And being someone that's still currently serving, we call them weapons where we are. But I've trained myself to not, because they're right. It's not a weapon. Anything can be used as a weapon. So keys. Taught a self-defense course. Helped teach a self-defense course the other week, and we were using keys.
Sure.
Your car keys. Well, now it's a car key, but now it's a weapon. So, tool, firearm, gun, things like that. But until you get to certain levels in the NRA, the issue that I have, I understand why they do it, though. It is, for sport. It is for practice. It is for going to the range, and that's it. And until you get to certain classes, it doesn't teach it on the self-defense aspect of it. And I understand why they do it, but the curriculums are very rigid. There's not a whole lot of room for individual instruction if you strictly teach that way. But as an instructor, just like Hollywood, you've got to take certain liberties with how you instruct.
Sure.
The NRA says in your basic pistol class, you teach it where the firearm is only loaded when you're on the firing line and you're about to shoot. Well, if you're going to a range, that's absolutely true.
Sure.
In my opinion, that's not true if you're concealed carrying.
Correct.
Depending on, again, the situation, but more often than not, that's not true. But you still have to be able to individualize it so people can understand. Going over squiblows or misfires or hang fires. Reading from the PowerPoint presentation that they give you may not break it down so the individual can understand it. And you as an instructor have to be able to do that. And if you can't, you're going to turn someone off. They're not gonna want to shoot. But most importantly, as a business, they're not going to come back to you and spend more of their money in your store.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the other thing that's really interesting. You're talking about stores. I think that one of the biggest problems facing kind of the gun community, and I assume it's the same in other places, but I know it's true in Massachusetts. You walk into a gun store. There's a big one up kind of northwest of the city of Boston. I'm not going to say its name, and it's great selection and great prices. But you walk in there and say, "I just got my license to carry." They're going to sell you the most expensive thing that they can. They don't really care.
Yes. So in Massachusetts, if you were a female and you did that, would they take you to the first pink or purple gun that was on their shelf?
Yes.
And that's the problem we have here in North Carolina. I've got a friend of mine. She's a client of mine. She's a student of mine. I've known her for a few years now. Her name is Miss Carol. Miss Carol is currently a 63-year-old double breast cancer surviving kickboxer who just had hip surgery last year, still kickboxing. And if you hear that, I'm on my deck, and that's one of our Apaches flying over. If you can hear that, I apologize.
Yeah.
And she has a Springfield XDS in flat dark earth that she bought from me. And before I started selling firearms and talking to her, that was one of the issues is I'm looking to get my first pistol. What should I get? I get that question a lot. And I have 5 rules in buying a firearm, any firearm. The first one is you have to be safe, period. I skip number 2, and I always go to number 3. You have to be able to make it function. Number 4 is you have to be able to fix a malfunction, because if you can't do those 2 things, you can't do number 5, which is hit what you're shooting at. And the second most important rule is it's got to be comfortable for you. Because if it's not comfortable for you, you're not going to pull it out of the box. You're not going to take it to the range. You're not going to want to get intimate with that firearm. Being whether you're a professional gunfighter, whether you are a competitive shooter, whether you are someone that carries a firearm because it is your God-given right to defend yourself and you use a firearm to do so. Eventually, if you carry a firearm to defend yourself, Hopefully not, but you might find yourself in a gunfight.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find yourself in a gunfight and you are not comfortable with the firearm you're carrying, more often than not, you're not even going to put it on your hip. And then God forbid something happened and you don't have it with you. So for me, the number 2 most important rule is that it's got to be comfortable. So I try to figure out, what do you want to use it for? Well, I want it for concealed carry. I want to carry it daily. Awesome. Then I get this. Well, which one is the best pistol for me? I have 3 pistols that I do not recommend to folks. And I have my reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an experience thing. I'm not going to name them. One of which the Army currently carries, so that should
Yep.
tell you there. And the reason is because I have experience with those. That is a large pistol. The safety is in a horrible spot. The rising block on it in about 5,000 rounds is going to shear off. In about 10,000 rounds, you're probably going to have a catastrophic failure. And if you're training like you need to train, it may not take you long to get to 10,000 rounds. It may take you 5 years, may take you 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to have that failure when you need that firearm to work.
Nope.
And there's 2 others and reasons. But I ask them, what do you want to use it for? Well, I need something small because I'm a small person. And then I use Mike Penny, our friend Mike Penny, as an example. I use myself as an example. And then I say, wait right here. And I go change, and I come back in a pair of basketball shorts and flip-flops and a T-shirt and say, how many pistols do I have on me? And usually I've got 3, and they can't see any of them.
Yep.
And I'm in basketball shorts or board shorts or Ranger panties and a T-shirt. They don't know, you know. And they're like, how did you do that? Well, it's about the gear. So you have to look at how you're going to carry, what's your philosophy. I like double stack. I like 9mm. You know, some folks say, hit them with a 45. You know, they'll go down. Well, you've never been to a gunfight, or you've never seen a gunfight, or you've never experienced anybody getting shot high on drugs.
Yep.
And statistically, the first round misses. I like double stacked. I get more rounds with a 9mm, and then getting to the science of how rounds are made. There are rounds out there that are fantastic. So,
yeah, I was going to say, you know, I think that from my study of it, the terminal ballistics of a good quality 9mm defensive round, you know, your Spear Gold Dots plus P, stuff like that, it's a smaller bullet going faster. It approximately, I would say, this, you know, as the same in the same category of stopping power, quote unquote, which is a shitty term, as you know, a 45.
So 45's got more weight.
Yep.
It's slower, so you feel it. So what you do is you get a softer 9mm round. I like Corbon. I say Glasser. Some people say Glazer. Some people say Glazer. But the Corbon Glasser safety slug. They take the round. They hollow it out, so you only have the shell of the bullet itself. They then fill that round with shotgun shot. They fill it with number 8 shot in the summer and number 6 shot in the winter.
Okay.
You have a blue cap and a silver cap. The silver cap, the little plastic ball they put into it, is for the winter. The reason it's a heavier shot in the winter is because of thicker clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bullet that's also a shotgun shell. The plastic cap keeps it together upon exit of the firearm.
Okay.
When it hits the body, that shotgun shell, those shotgun pellets riddle the body with just it opens up.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a buddy that is a PA in an emergency room here. An elderly gentleman in his 70s was just taking a walk in his neighborhood. This was not a bad neighborhood, but criminals don't always hunt in bad neighborhoods. They hunt where they feel that they can be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And the criminal walks up to him, attempts to rob him. He's got a knife or whatever thing he was using as his weapon. And the elderly gentleman said, "Just give me 1 second." And he bladed himself. "Let me grab my wallet." And he shoots him with a 380. 380 Corbon Glasser safety slug. Shot him right in the pelvic girdle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know anything about where to shoot folks, if you really want someone to go down, that's where you shoot them. Their hips are going to break. It's excruciating. More likely than not, they're probably going to be dead by the time the ambulance get there en route because of where it's being shot and what it's tearing up. But from his pelvic girdle all the way to his clavicle, this bad guy was riddled with the shotgun shot in that 380.
Wow.
Every organ was pierced, punctured, cut, everything from the pelvic girdle all the way up to his clavicle. There was nothing that was not hit.
Wow.
380.
Wow. And wow. And that's something that I've always thought was, almost a gimmick or something that carried in snake country.
Right. Right.
Never really thought of it as a defensive round. That's really interesting perspective.
So what they did is they took that 22 rat shot varmint round and put it into pistol and rifle calibers. So now, depending on what you're hunting, you can use a smaller caliber rifle, which makes it lighter for you, so you can move longer. With the pistol, you've got more rounds that do more damage on a bad guy. But if you're in an apartment complex or a subdivision that have townhomes that are connected, if someone breaks in, statistically the first round misses. Those things we've talked about before, always based on fundamentals, because the individual is not aiming at the threat, which is the person. They're aiming at what they deem to be the threat, which is the weapon in the person's hand. So that's statistically, that first round misses, and then it hits a wall. Well, with these rounds, because of the way they're designed, it either doesn't penetrate the other side at all, or if it does and someone is hit, they're hurt versus injured.
Yep. That's, and I think that, up here in the Northeast, we're thickly settled, right? I mean, it's a lot of apartments, a lot of townhomes, like you're saying, but, even in a house, I think off to my north, there's a house, it's 15 yards from me, right? And
right.
I mean, there's a reason I don't use I don't keep my AR in my bedroom, right?
Right.
Because, talk about over penetration. I mean, that thing would go through my, definitely go through my 1960s era house and probably enter the next one where the, a smaller, lighter round or a frangible round of a larger caliber isn't going to quite do the same thing. It's going to stop where I need it to stop.
That's right. Then you got in any self-defense situation at home, you should have no shoot zones for that specific reason, because you never know where you'll find yourself and what might happen in your home. What if what's closest to you is that AR?
Yep.
So now we have to make sure we can shoot in stressful situations. So that's another thing that we're going to be doing. Fitness is a big thing. So there's 3 facets of self-defense. Some sort of physical fitness, because if you cannot run your fat ass around the block to get away, you're not running away, because running is a defense.
Yep.
Some sort of legit martial art. Look, if you do karate, if you do taekwondo, if you do tai chi, if you do those things, good on you. But you need something that is going to legitimately teach you how to incapacitate that individual that is violating you. Those 3 things, in my opinion, are Muay Thai kickboxing, or a Kyokushin karate, jiu-jitsu, and judo. Those 4 things teach you how to fight. Those 4 things teach you how to incapacitate someone who's trying to violate you. And the third is learning how to use some sort of weapon. Firearm might not be for you. For whatever reason, you don't want a firearm. But we can use knives. We can use impact weapons. We can, there's something that we need to use, because, some folks just can get punched in the face and in the head and not go down. I mean, it is what it is. Got to have those 3 things for your self-defense. But if something happens in your home while you're there, and that rifle is what you have because that's where you are, and they're in between you and your pistol, there's a philosophy. Your pistol is a good tool to use, and you should use it to fight your rifle. And again, it depends on the scenario. Every scenario is different. But you should have those no shoot zones in your home, depending on the situation. So if your family's safe, but you got someone there, they're not leaving. Well, shit, he's in a no shoot zone. I can't shoot him here because he's going to over penetrate if I hit him in the chest or the stomach. But if I shoot him in the head, I might miss because he could move. Well, where do we have to shoot him then? We can shoot him in his pelvic girdle, because that's at a downward angle, and if it does over penetrate, it goes into the floor of our own home.
Yeah.
And if no one's downstairs, if it's on the 2nd floor and everyone's upstairs and you're between them and the bad guy, the safe position for a firearm is relative to your position. It's not always up, it's not always down, it's relative to your position. And if you're having to engage someone in your home with a rifle, because that's just the situation you're in, and your family's behind you and you're between them and the bad guy, but you can't shoot straight because for fear of over penetration to the next home, shoot him in the pelvic girdle.
That's great advice. I mean, everybody talks about shooting a center mass.
Yep.
Everybody in defensive tactics talks about shooting a center mass. I mean, it's just what it is. I've taken a dozen courses on self-defense, and I think it's come up once as a viable target. And I think that you raise a really good point that shoot where it's going to be safest for you and the people around you, but also that's a viable target.
It is, because think about it. What is the number one? What is one of the rules when shooting is know your target and what's beyond it? Is it not?
Yes.
you can't teach only shoot center mass and at the same time teach know your target and what's beyond it.
Yeah, I mean,
In a situation of we shoot center mass because that's how we're going to get the bad guy if there's a bad guy presenting himself and we have to shoot him. Yeah, I mean, okay, I got center mass. I understand it. I understand it perfectly. I know the reason behind shooting center mass. But you're forgetting that other rule of know your target and what's beyond it. If you are teaching know your target and what's beyond it, you also have to teach center mass is not always the answer.
yes, yeah, no, and that's, I mean, it's not deer hunting, right? I mean, you're not
Right.
always aiming for the heart and lungs.
That's right.
You know, there's a certain level of, I hesitate to say it, but improvisation in a defensive scenario. I mean, you need to be able to think horizontally, laterally, vertically. You know, you need to be able to
Yep.
improvise.
We call it 360 3D.
That's a great way to put it.
360 degrees, in 3 dimensions.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. So we've spent some time here talking about, you know, I think something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, you know, defensive tactics
Absolutely.
and thoughts. Let's talk about the other thing. Right?
Okay.
That I know we both love talking about, which
Yeah.
is hunting.
Yes.
So did you grow up hunting, or is this something you came later in life like me?
I grew up fishing.
Mm-hmm.
My dad grew up hunting. He hunted rabbit and squirrel. Not a big deer guy. But the womp of this story is before he and my mom got married, before I was born, he had a friend who was hunting deer in a tree stand, and another guy shot him out of that tree stand. Said he thought he was a turkey, and he shot him with a rifle.
Okay.
So we know that you can't shoot a bird out of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
We know, at least in North Carolina, you can't shoot turkeys with a rifle.
Yep.
And it wasn't turkey season.
That's 3 strikes right there.
Right. And that impacted my dad in such a way that he just stopped hunting.
Okay.
And he talked about it. You know, always want to get back into it. I've been shooting since I was 6, man. You know, my dad, avid gun guy, taught me how to shoot. Military has refined it, been able to teach me things that he couldn't. But the basic fundamentals was taught by my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted to hunt, though. And then I met a guy that you know,
Yep.
Mike Penny. Got linked up through Bunker Labs and some other things. He's right up the road from me. Was taking folks out to his house and wanted to get hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted to hunt. Not a prepper. I don't think I'm a prepper.
Sure.
But I do believe that you should be able to provide for your family in such a way that if something happened that grocery stores are empty or there's a bad storm and you can't get to the grocery store, anything can happen. You need to be able to grow your own food and harvest your own meat.
Sure.
And I got to talking to Mike. I got myself a Marlin lever action 30-30
Mm-hmm.
and started hunting last year.
Yes, you did. And so you, last year, before we met, you had harvested. You guys were in Penny. Penny at the time was
Yep.
living on Fob Invictus, he called it. It was about 20 acres of cedar forest. It was beautiful. Loved
Oh,
it
yeah.
there. And so you guys went out first time, second time, out under his his improvised
Right. Improvised blind. So so I got to tell the whole thing. So between Mike and myself, we harvested 5 deer last year. I got 2, he got 3. So a deer blind is a deer blind, is it not?
Yes.
And as long as you're on your land, anything can be a deer blind.
Sure. Absolutely.
He got his first deer from his 2nd-story bathroom window.
Yep.
Great shot. Then he got a small buck, and he got another doe later. The first one I got, she was about 100 pounds, 95, 100-pound doe. They're not very big here in North Carolina because we have warmer winters, so there's no need for them to get as big as they do the further north you go.
Yep.
And I actually got that one with his Remington 35. I had an actual manufacturer's defect in my 30-30. Contacted one of my dealers. I said, hey, this is what happened. This is what's going on. And I'm telling you what, my dealer is fantastic because they had me another rifle in the mail and at my doorstep before they even emailed me the shipping label to send it back.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
fantastic.
Great service.
Didn't miss any time in the woods. And then I got the second one. but before you are, throw your salt on me, we've got to let everyone know that I didn't do it to you first. Mike did it to you last year.
Yes. Well, no. In fairness, absolute fairness, Penny had a better geometry of fire there. I mean, it was, the buck that we shot last year was coming down a little creek bed, and I had my 870, and Penny had his AR, and just the I'd say 5-degree difference in fire. There was a branch and a bush in front of me, and it was pushing maybe 50 yards, which is right about the edge of what I would consider an ethical shot for open sights on a smooth barrel shotgun.
Correct.
But Penny had his King Hell AR that, I know he's good out to 300 yards. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
So, I would say it was flip of a coin there, and,
right. Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Penny.
I'll give you that one.
In fairness, Penny did shoot my deer.
That is true.
The deer that we were both pointing at.
There you go. So the first deer I got underneath his, so just so folks know, we weren't just hunting on 20 acres. Everyone in that area they were living was on 20 acres. So it's about 180 acres in total. Every home had its own 20.
Yep.
Mike's backyard of the 20 was open, and then the other 19 was wooded. 18 or 19 was wooded.
Yep.
But we set our blinds up on the edge in a clearing, and we had blinds in the woodline, just like the ones you guys hunted with the year before.
Yep.
And I was, I had that malfunction. Mike goes, "I've already got one. I want you to get one. Here's my Remington 35." So we're sitting there, people teach you things, they tell you things, and you believe them, but it's one of those things that you don't like. Holy, what? You're right until you see it. And that was, you don't hear deer moving in the woods. You finally just see them, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm not trying to move, but I'm excited, and I see a turkey. I hear a turkey. Then I see a turkey. And then I whispered, "Deer." And he goes, "Nah, dude, that's a turkey." I went, "Doe." And he got quiet. And we waited, and he likes it. The story he likes telling, I think it's hilarious. He goes, he's sitting there, he goes, "Oh, I'd take that shot. Oh, I'd take that shot." And about the time he put his finger in his ear, I pulled the trigger and got my doe. Well, then you come down.
Yep.
You guys are out a couple days, and I come down, and we go up to another veteran buddy of ours, Robert Elliott, on his farm.
Yep.
And, dude, we were out early morning, all day, stalking in. It was chilly, but it was good. Yep. Left for lunch, got back, and come to find out, you had seen one at 400 yards-ish, but she never turned, and you were hunting with a rifle that would touch 500 or 600 yards and was zeroed for, 600 yards. But she come out, and it's like she...
New rifle, something I'd never shot before, it never fired a 308,
Yeah.
Not going to take an unethical shot for me.
Exactly. So, and, Mike and I didn't see it, nothing. We get back, Mike goes, "Hey, go ahead and get set up." And I set up in the same spot that I did with the doe, and that spot was between the cross beams of his deck.
Yes. With
some cedar scrap that I brought from a friend of mine's. He owns a lumber mill, and so any scrap stuff we get, we burn. And I just broke some up, and we used that as makeshift blind, mass scent, and all those things. I've never used a deer call. I'm out there by myself. I have a deer call. And, Mike talked about, sometimes you can use the fawn call for a doe, sometimes a doe calling it, vice versa. Yep. Hit a couple fawn calls, nothing, and I'm probably impatient because I'd never done it before. And I look down, and it is 440. Yep. And I hit a grunt for a buck. And I'm sorry, it was 445. And that's a grunt for a buck, 445, and at 5, I'll hit it again. Give it 15 minutes, hit it again.
And so I just got to jump in here. At this point, at 4:45, I had just put my shotgun away, had just taken off my hunting clothes, was packing up my stuff to go to the airport because I had to fly out. And I remember sitting down on the bed, kind of going, "Man, this was a great trip. I'm sad I'm not coming home with any venison."
Right. So across from Mike's old place, on that whole side was horse farms. And I heard something coming through the woods, and it made me think, holy crap, the horses have gotten out. That's what it sounded like. My instinct told me, you need to shift right there, guy. But my lack of knowledge hunting said, no, you're good. Stay right here. And about the time I said that, out of the corner of my eye comes this buck that Mike had just seen a couple days before. Huge 8-point buck.
Yep.
And he comes out, who is on my land calling my women? That's the way he popped out. And I'm like, oh crap. I got no shot on this guy. I gotta adjust. And he's still looking. I shift and he looks at me and he looks back down, and then there's some corn on the ground.
Yep.
And this is proof that as long as you have the fundamentals, you don't have to be comfortable to get an accurate shot. Because I was sitting Indian style between cross beams, leaning forward and to the left, and my sight picture was completely sideways. And then you heard the crack of the Marlin 30-30.
Yes, I did.
And I'm like, woo! And you guys come running. You go, I just got dressed. Yeah. And I'd never cleaned a deer before in my life by myself. The doe that I got, it was 75 degrees that day, and Mike is hacking that thing up so she doesn't go bad.
Yep.
So Mike goes, good luck, I'll be back in a minute. And I'm like, okay. So I got light on, the sun's down, headlamp on, got my phone out, trying to look it up on YouTube to do it by myself. Man, and about the time Mike got there, I was like, I got some problems. I got him hung up. I got almost all the hide off, but I can't get that out right there. And he helps me finish it up. And I had my guesstimate about how much he weighed with his guts out hanging, and I want to give Mike, and Mike goes, dude, this deer's big. This guy's at least 130 pounds just hanging here with his guts out. He was a big fat, and he had all his teeth. That's what surprised Mike. And the guy who hadn't got it back yet, mentor of mine, my first sergeant last time I was in Iraq, he's doing the skull and antlers for me.
Oh, great.
I'm not even rushed, man. He's not letting me pay him for it. When I get it back, I get it back. But he goes, Trey, this thing had all his teeth. 8 points, good rack. It was good. It was good. So
that was awesome.
If you want to say I stole it from you, I'm going to say that you should have just changed your flight and sat a little bit longer.
You know what? You're not wrong there. I also remember about halfway through. That morning was, I know you're a tough guy, but that morning was cold. That morning was very cold.
Dude, I brought those heated hand things with stickies on it, and I gave some to you guys, and I had some. Man, I had them on my neck, on my chest, in my hands. I grabbed my whoopee out. I used that as a blind to block. It was cold.
It was cold.
It was cold.
And I remember I was sitting there going, man, it's going to be warmer tomorrow. Maybe I should change my flight. And then, I let it go, and I let it go. And then, I was like, well, I want to go see my wife. I want to go home. I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
Mistakes were made.
And you got the horrible end of that deal, because Mike and I thought, we were like, look, we're going to be here. We can go hunting anytime.
Yep.
Let's put Andrew up in the deer stand, and we'll just hunt from the ground.
Yeah.
Dude, you had the crappiest seat. You had the wind blowing in your face. You had to have been miserable.
I was not a happy camper.
Oh, God.
But it beats working.
Any time in the woods beats working.
Absolutely. And, I've come to believe that more and more, that, jobs get a little bit weird, you get stressed out, and, I have taken 2 weeks off to hunt this year. Week after Thanksgiving and the week between Christmas and New Year's. Now, obviously, I'll do family stuff too. But, I've been looking forward to that since November.
Oh, yeah.
So, are you going to hunt Rob's again this fall?
I think so. We're trying to work it out. I think we are. We're looking at some other places. I don't really want to do state land. The reason I don't want to do state land is because you have the guys on state land that just shoot anything. Mm-hmm. And that's not how I want to be as a hunter. I'm enthusiastic about it. My son's 5. When it starts cooling off a little bit here, because I don't know what it's like in Boston, but we're really humid here in North Carolina. The further south you go. Yep. I'm going to start with a little airsoft pistol, a little airsoft rifle, get him working on that. I got the yard for it. I'm on a full acre here. Okay. Like a simple backstops and in an air, those airsoft things. They're not going, even if he misses. It's not like they're going to go into the neighbor's yard, even if they, get him on that. I'm gonna try to get him out a little bit. And some of the recommendations I've got from one of my mentors is start him out in the truck. Just go out in the truck in open field, talk about it, let him know what to look for, take him out in the woods, show him the signs of life. figure the trap. The normal tracking, whether you're tracking a person through the woods, or you're looking for things that are unnatural, or you're looking for the signs of life of deer where they're eating, where they're moving. Usually moving towards water, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then set him up in a truck, and because he's warm.
Yeah.
And then break him into, hey, it's going to be cold today, but when we get this and we get 60 pounds of meat off of it,
Yeah.
And I broke him in. I broke that buck home. Still had the head. And he was 4 then. The youngest one was 2, and they are grabbing a deer head by the antlers and carrying it in my garage. And it just, dude, most folks are like, put that down. That made me happy because they weren't grossed out by it. They understand that it's for food.
Yep.
They've eaten a lot of the deer meat first time. My oldest Cullen, he had deer meat. Myself and my business partner, we were taking folks on a ruck around one of our nature parks here.
Mm-hmm.
Said, bring your own food. If you don't, we're going to bring some extra. Had some backstrap and tenderloin on the grill there. My 4-year-old destroyed 2 huge pieces. Loved it.
Great.
Thanks to Mike, because Mike is teaching me how to butcher properly.
Yep.
A lot of his family were butchers. I grew up eating deer, not knowing how it was processed, and they either left the silver skin on, or come to find out later they were unethical hunters and ran dogs. I don't believe in the term offended. I think people choose to be offended, but if someone is offended by the term unethical hunting of dogs, so be it. If you're not hunting, there are times where you should hunt with dogs. I got hunting dogs with birds because you got to get them up in the air off the ground. I got using dogs for rabbit and squirrel because the dog can tell you where the squirrel is in a tree, and you got to roost a rabbit out of wherever he is to get him running. I understand dogs with boar because boars are vicious and they will attack you when you don't even know that they're there. But there's no reason, in my opinion, to be using dogs for deer hunting. And even if it was ethical, if that was an issue, you ruin the meat when you do it because the amino acid build up, the dumping of the adrenaline. You want to shoot them when they think they're safe.
Sure.
And between learning that from Mike and the proper way to butcher and process that, I've had folks tell me, I had a couple weeks ago, we had, my wife is, we just had our 3rd, June 24th. And she's not opposed to deer, but she still has a red meat aversion from the pregnancy. So she had some grilled chicken. I had some deer there, and folks like, well, I don't know, it's just real grainy and gritty. I'm like, it's the way it was processed. Just try this piece.
Yep.
That lady who is my son's godmother goes, oh my God, and then took a whole nother full steak for herself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's great. And it's I was talking to a guy on Tuesday night. His show will air, I think, before this one. And another National Guardsman.
Yep.
He got into hunting. He started off a couple years ago with small game. He went out deer hunting, but he and his son really got into squirrel hunting.
Right.
And it was a great introduction for both of them. How to move quiet, how to move slow, how to figure out what's going on in the woods, how to navigate, how to do all that. I think that's when my baby's old enough. She's literally 6 weeks tomorrow. I think.
Congratulations, sir. That's awesome.
You. We're over the moon. If she'd only work a little bit more.
Right. It gets better. It gets better.
I know. I'm just waiting for it. I think that's how we're gonna, teach her all the fundamentals, how to, be safe, and then take her out in the woods and introduce her with squirrel or maybe pheasant, and go out that way. Yep.
Want to do some boar hunting with Mike this year. Would really like to go hunt some bear. I want to go somewhere. I can't remember the name of the bird, but they call it the ribeye in the sky.
Sandhill crane.
There it is. And I want to get a couple of them.
Yes. Yep.
I do.
So, Trey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit Powerball, or we're going to hit Mega Millions or something like that.
Okay.
And we're both going to retire. And then we're just going to travel around. Whatever's open, we're just going to hunt it.
So here is the pact that I am going to give to you.
All right.
Anytime that it gets over 200 million, I'll buy 10 tickets, you buy 10 tickets, and if I win, I'll split it with you, and if you win, you split it with me.
Done.
We're good.
We're handshaking through the internet right now. I'm in.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
I'm good with it.
Okay, we'll make this happen.
I'm good with it.
Nobody wins big jackpots up here, so I kind of feel bad, but people win, down your neck of the woods all the time.
They do. They do.
got to be in it to win it. So
This is true.
we'll cut Penny in for a little bit too. He's a nice enough guy.
Yeah, right. So since he wasn't in on it, we'll both give him 5% of each of our cut. So I'll give him 5%, you give him 5%. We'll be all right.
Great. You know what? I'm sure that would be more than just compensation for all the mentoring he's given to us.
I'm pretty sure to pay off his house, right?
Oh, I would hope so. I mean, I imagine that the market in down where he's at, just outside of Raleigh, is pretty similar to what it is up here, and it would definitely pay off my house. So I'm gonna.
You ready for this? So he moved.
Yeah.
And he is literally maybe 4 miles from me now.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he went from being 16 miles north of me to about 4 miles, and even 4 miles south of me, because you don't even get to the Bojangles right down the road, and that's 3 miles. So he's maybe 2.5 miles with the turns down the road from me.
That's awesome. And there's like a little lake over where he's at, right?
Yeah. So it's huge pond. A huge pond. It's pretty big. We've done a little bit of fishing in it. He's caught some stuff. It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
Bass pond. What's in there?
He caught perch the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there's any bass in it. I haven't talked to him about that. I've got a small pond behind my house, and there are bass and perch and brim and stuff in that. I'm pretty sure there are some bass in his. I mean, it's a large pond, and it's God knows how long it's been there. It's a spring-fed pond, so it's been there for quite some time.
That's great. Are you doing much fishing this summer?
I've done a little bit. I've got my boys out. I don't go by myself because all boys always want to go. Luckily, I've got the pond right behind my house.
Yep.
And we'll go, and what'll happen is they'll catch one, woo, and then all right, I'm done, and they want to stay out, but they want me to do the fishing for them.
Okay.
But then it gets hot. They're 5 and 3. When it cools off, we're my best friend, my business partner, Todd Fleetwood. We're doing camping, and we're getting the boys and his sons where we start them out with everything, right? Got the tents, got all the food, got all the whatever, so they like it. And then slowly but surely start teaching them things. So the next time we'll go, okay, well, here's a tent, but this is how you build your own shelter.
Okay.
And then the next time we go out, we'll have the tent there, but we got to build our own shelter. So if we can't get the shelter built in time because, they're little or something happens or some horrendous weather comes up, we do have the tents there. And then we start where we don't take the tents. You have to build your own shelter.
That's cool.
To going into places where you can actually hunt and camp, to where the only thing we're really taking in initially is water, but places where we can get water, purify that water, and then you're having to catch and or hunt your own food. And that's where we want to get to, and that's how we want to introduce them into the hunting. It's awesome. Man, it teaches them responsibility. It teaches them, conservation of life. It teaches them that, it's okay to as long as you're going to do this to feed yourself and your family, and you're not doing it for a trophy to say you killed something, then it's perfectly fine. But what it also does is you have to teach the safety, and you have to teach the knowledge of what it is to have a firearm, to shoot a firearm, to store a firearm, to clean a firearm. You're outside. It's better than any video game, and so far, man, it's been an awesome bonding experience with my 5-year-old.
That's awesome. That's really cool, Trey. I respect the hell out of that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So now, are you coming down again this year?
I don't know, man. So there's a lot of things that are making it a little bit doubtful right now. With the move and the new baby and all that.
Right.
If by some miracle I get a new job, and it just happens to fall that I can, buy have a week or two off before I start, I'm hoping to make it down.
I got you.
I'd put it at like a 25% chance right now this year.
I got you. So what Mike and I are going to do is we're going to wear GoPros, and we're just going to see the video for everyone that we get this year.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I tried to do that first year down there, and about 20 minutes before that deer came through, my GoPro died.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it was rough. I have the video. It was a beautiful morning. Birds were singing. There was mist and everything like that. And then we heard something started to move off to the right, and as soon as that happened, I heard beep 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 beep, and then the GoPro shut down.
Oh, that's awful.
That would have been great video.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You saw the one where Mike got from his the first one he got this year, right?
Yep. Yeah. The one he spined a little bit.
Yeah, from we all 5 shots are pretty good.
Yep.
The buck that he got, he ran a little bit, he got hung up, and then Mike disposed of that quickly with one behind the head. Both of mine, one shot and down.
Yeah.
That 30-30 has a muzzle velocity of 2,200 feet per second.
Wow.
It has 1,900 feet per second at 100 yards.
Wow.
Now, because of the science of it, it's really not good. You probably wouldn't want to shoot something past 100 yards with that because, it's not a free-floating barrel and all this other science that goes behind it. But that buck I shot at like 50-ish yards, and he probably got smacked with hollow point deer and bear round at 2,100 feet per second. It pushed him 2 steps before he fell.
Yeah, that's a round that hauls.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That 35, the 35 that Penny was using, that is a big freaking bullet moving very quickly.
Oh yeah, he's got some velocity behind that too. We want to do some boar hunting. We want to do some bear hunting. Just getting out in the woods, man. Some folks, I like to play golf. Some folks, that's their thing. Some folks, they like to go. I like to go fishing. But being outside in the woods, walking around, and guns, man, that does it for me. That and Zach Brown, that does it for me.
I was going to say it's the trifecta, and then you threw Zach Brown in there, and it's whatever the 4-person version of the trifecta is.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, there's Penny's exact gun is for sale up here with a scope for $500.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
A Remington 35.
Yep.
So I'm gonna quote you something online real quick, okay?
Okay.
So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there where you are,
yep.
You can own that Remington 35.
Yep.
With no special whatever. It doesn't have to have a plug in it, so it only takes so many rounds. I mean,
nope.
what's the?
Yeah, you can own it. I mean, it's not what they would define as an assault weapon. It's not an SBR. It's nothing fancy. About the only thing that would make it tricky up here is you can't use it to hunt deer in Massachusetts because it's a centerfire rifle. You could.
That's about the dumbest.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and nobody's been able to really understand why that regulation's in place. I could think of a couple of possible, maybe kind of weak-ass justifications, but it's one of those things that I don't fully understand. However, they have no problem with me hunting with a muzzle loader, firing a 250 grain bullet, with 150 grains of powder behind it. In other words,
that's a legit bullet that you've packed yourself that is in a rifled barrel.
Yes. Yeah.
God, Doug. Even if their concern was, well, you can use a lever and you can, you've got more rounds than just one. Okay, well then make your law here in Massachusetts to where if you're hunting with that, you can only have one in the chamber, and if you have to shoot, you have to reload.
Yeah. Well, it's like like my shotgun, my 870 holds 4 rounds in the tube and 1 in the pipe. I mean,
right.
They're 1 ounce deer slugs. I would honestly, if I had to pick something to get shot with, a 1 ounce slug moving at 1,250 feet per second at 50 yards, that ain't it. No, it's not it. That is not it at all. I think from personally from a safety standpoint, it's not clad in copper or anything like that. It's a lead slug, and you don't eat much of the meat from around where the bullet goes, but
right.
It's still lead in something you're going to eat.
Right. Well, here's the thing, man. Here's the misconception out in California. So California, a couple years ago, and I don't know if they did it, but basically was saying that we're going to outlaw all lead because hunters are killing animals and they're just leaving the animals, and then the birds are eating and they're getting lead poisoning. That's a crock.
Yeah. Yes, that is. Yeah.
That's a crock. And when you shoot a deer, no matter with what round you're shooting it with, the only reason you don't eat the meat around where the impact is because it destroys the meat. That's it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Has nothing to do with the lead, because you're going to take that out. You know how long that lead would have to sit there to really contaminate anything?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it blows my mind, man. I don't get it.
hey, it doesn't always make sense when laws are made by people who don't understand the rules.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. So yeah, if you really want a Remington 35, does that one up there have a scope on it, or is it just iron sights?
No, it's got a scope.
Okay.
I'm pulling up the classified right now. It's secondhand, of course.
Oh, so yeah, okay. So I'm looking at one now, and I can. It doesn't have a scope on it, but it's brand new, and I could get you that for about the same price, and then just transfer it. It won't have a scope on it, but it won't be secondhand.
Yeah, this is 35 rem. Yeah, $500 even with the scope, mounts, and everything.
That's awesome.
I mean,
that is awesome.
If I had more of a use for it. Oh, and it comes with a legit leather sling, like not a carrying strap, but an actual sling.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, but then I decided against it. I was going to tacticalize my 30-30. They got all these stocks and Picatinny rails you can put on it. I was like, that looks cool. Nah, don't be that guy. I decided against it. I'm keeping it with the wood stock. The only thing that I am going to do outside of that is I'm going to get the raised mounting rings like Penny did.
Yep.
And raise it.
Yeah.
Yep. Just so I can be able to use it close in. Because if I decide to use that to hunt boar, and they're running, I'm gonna need something other than a magnified optic on it.
Yep. No, absolutely. The that it's a hell of a gun. They really are.
Love it, man. Love it.
And up here, up in Maine, you can obviously hunt with a rifle, and it's legal to drive deer. And
right.
A lot of the the pushes that folks do are through brush, and a gun like that, kind of more of a scout gun than a traditional hunting rifle, is absolutely the way to go.
Man, all of them have just so much velocity and sheer knockdown power inside 100 yards that it's just a good rifle.
Yep.
And where we're hunting, unless we're out at Rob's land, I'm not going to be shooting over 100 yards.
Nope.
I'm going to be in the woods. I'm either going to be on the ground, on the top of a hill, before I crest the hill, pointing down as they're walking into a little draw, going for some water, or I'm going to be the complete opposite on this farmland, on the edge of the woods, in a stand. So, if I'm doing that, I'll have me a 308, but most of my hunting is going to be done in the woods. I'm probably not going to be shooting over more than 100 yards.
Well, and that's up here. I think the longest shot of all the folks I've talked to, some folks hunt ag fields, right? But the longest shot most folks are taking is 50 yards. I mean, unless you're like me last December 2nd and miss a 50-yard chip shot with my shotgun, it's not that much of a distance. An optic's nice, but it's not necessary.
Right. So what kind of sights do you have on your shotgun? Is it just a bead up front?
No. So I actually bought a dedicated barrel. It's got regular rifle sights on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean they're fixed at I'd say that they're pretty close to zero between, or they'll hit point of aim at a 35 to 50.
That's not bad. It's not bad at all.
No, it's not bad. And I what happened to me last year was, when honestly I just panicked. Like, it was the first time I was in the woods by myself.
Right.
With a gun.
Excited
to kill something.
Excited. Yep.
Got really excited and just forgot all of my fundamentals. Like it just.
Dude, it happens.
It happens. And you know what? I didn't wound the deer. I didn't launch around into one of the the houses that was 500 feet beyond kind of the berm that I had backstopping the deer. So it was one hell of a learning experience. But I'll tell you, it's not going to happen this year because I have a muzzle loader with a scope that I can use all shotgun season.
That's fantastic.
Yep. And that's
fantastic.
That's going to put meat in that chest freezer that we bought.
That's fantastic. Now, does your wife eat venison?
Yeah, she loves it.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
I had to hide it with my wife. We've had some chili. We had my current director of what I do full time. He is deploying, and so we had a potluck going away lunch for him. And I told him, because he likes venison, he's a big chili guy. I said, "Look, hey sir, I brought some venison chili. My first time doing it with venison. There's some things I would have already done different because with, for lack of a better term, organic meat just breaks down different when you cook it.
Yep.
Especially when it's ground up, like range-fed beef breaks down smaller than something that's not range. It just does when you cook it, right? When it's ground up.
Yeah.
So I had 2 pounds of venison, a pound of pork, for some added, a pound of hot sausage, for some added fat, right? Mm-hmm. And then your onions, peppers, seasoning, all that stuff. It's spicy enough to make your nose run.
Yep.
I told him, I told my coworker because she likes venison and wants to bring stuff in for her time to time. And I told one other person, I said, I just want to see what folks think. Dude, I probably had like 2 gallons of chili, gallon and a half of chili, and didn't bring any home.
That's, wow. That is
yeah.
That's a popular recipe.
And no one knew it was venison until I told them. Except for those 3 folks.
And what was the reaction when you told them?
They're like, no, it's not. That is not venison. And the boss goes, no, that really is venison. He goes, that's what happens when you kill it ethically and you process it right.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, 2 pounds. I think what I'm going to do next time, though, is just kind of hold that venison together more after it's ground up, is I'll cook it with the sausage so that fat from the sauce just kind of holds it together a little more.
Yep.
That's my own, and, I think I'm the only one that complained about that. No one else said anything. They just ate chili.
Yeah, we do a stew recipe that we made up with we were that first deer that Penny and I got with the last of the chunk meat. It's real simple. The venison, it was probably about a pound of venison meat, probably a cup and a half of red wine,
right?
2 bay leaves, salt, pepper, a little bit of cumin.
Oh, that sounds good.
Oh, brother, it was outstanding.
That sounds so good.
It broke down all nice. It was a little bit of olive oil on top.
Oh, it sounds so good.
It was good.
That sounds so good. I have got the doe's neck. It's about 16 inches long, and I want to do a slow cook roast with that and just pull that meat off the neck as it's done and just eat it with some potatoes and onions.
Yes. Yeah, you've been watching Meat Eater.
Meat Eater. Oh, my dude, man. When the regular stuff I watch, like I'm a geek, the Flash and all that stuff's off. When that's not on, anytime there's a new dude, when those other like 4 or 5 episodes come out and we were messaging each other, I watched them all in one night.
Yep.
Watched them all in one night.
Yeah, it's I love it. And it's like I came like super close after watching those episodes to just buying the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
I had it in my cart. I had my credit card out, and I was like, "This is a lot of money. It's a lot. It was a lot of money for those shows."
Yeah, because Netflix doesn't have the first season.
Correct.
It's like I'm like, oh God, you gotta give me the rest of them. I want to see where he starts.
Yeah.
So
you read his book?
I have not read his book. So you're gonna be angry with me. Some folks that listen to this are gonna be like, who is this guy? So Mike has the whole every man's a warrior, a philosopher, and a creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And brother, the way my mind, I have a very high reading comprehension level. But anytime books that I've bought, things people said have been good, I sit down and I read. And because of the way I operate and how I always burn the candle at both ends, when I sit down to read anything, I fall asleep.
Oh.
It's the same thing with football, man. Folks that watch football, I told my wife a couple years ago, I said, I'm going to be a good American and I'm going to watch football this year. And she goes, all right, I'll watch it with you. Man, team I want to watch or a game I want to watch, got whatever, some root beer or whatever, because, sitting down, and man, wake up with nacho cheese going down my chin, hadn't watched any of it. I just, if I want to do something, I've got to be moving. The only thing that I can do and stay awake when I'm sitting still is hunting and fishing.
Oh, man. I want it to be freaking November now.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I mean, you only have to wait till October 15th.
October 15th. And that's for rifle.
Yep.
When and if I found out, just so you know, I didn't know Mike know this, I've never shot bow and arrow, well, once or twice, but not enough to go hunting with it.
Camp kind of thing.
Right, dude. In North Carolina, crossbows you can use in hunting season for bow season. I was like, somebody told me that it didn't work. I was like, you're lying. He goes, no, I'm going to go get it restrung, and I'm getting my sights, and I'm getting it dialed in. I'm bow hunting with a crossbow this year. I'm like, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now we got to make this Powerball thing happen because I want to come down.
Oh, absolutely, got to make it happen, and I'm gonna piss people off if that happens. There's land for sale all over the place.
Yep.
There's 58 acres here, 100 acres here. There's almost 800 acres down the road from me. If it happens, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna put my house right smack dab in the middle of the 800 acres. It's not gonna be farmland. It's not gonna be anything. I'm gonna just plant huge trees. It's gonna overgrow. It's gonna be a dirt path to the house. I'm gonna have a P.O. box, not a mailbox, and I'm gonna hunt and farm my land.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I like to hear.
That is what I mean, I'd love to do that.
That would be really cool. All right, brother. I'll let you get back with your night with your beautiful wife and kids. Thank you so much for taking the time and chatting. I'm going to tell you this right now. We're going to do a mid-season check-in once your season's opened up for both of us.
Yeah, man.
We'll do an end-of-season debrief. You, me, Penny, a couple other folks.
That's fantastic. We'll get my. You didn't get to meet Todd because he was working. He's come out. That's my business associate. He's what I'm keeping secret. He's one of the things that that is going to set us apart for what we want to do here. Good dude, man. Just the nicest guy. Getting him hunting. He started hunting with me this year.
Great.
And he'll be on some of those hunts with myself and Penny.
Awesome. Yeah. Keep us posted. I'm excited to hear how it goes.
Dude, I can't wait. I just want to go sit in the woods now.
Do it.
I just want to go sit in the woods.
Awesome. Thank you, Trey. Well, hey everyone, it's Andrew from Neophyte in the Woods. Just popping in real quick. Wanting to do a quick kind of bumper out here. We here at Neophyte in the Woods and the Change Your POV Network do this all out of the goodness of our hearts. We legitimately love and are passionate about the subjects about which we speak. However, that doesn't mean that we're not absorbing some costs. And one of the ways we're trying to address the overhead costs associated with putting out these podcasts is to do Patreon. And you can find a link to it right down at the bottom in the kind of the episode show notes on our website. If you could donate anything that you're able to support us and help us get this content coming out to you, it would be very much appreciated. There are tiers of membership from $1 all the way up to $10, and you can donate more than that. For our backers, our Patreon patrons, we do offer some unique content. We've been doing weekly shows where we do a live stream and we talk about a quote on Mondays. It's normally right around 8 p.m. Eastern. There's also some other cool rewards, including the level at which I back at $10 a month. You can actually get, believe it or not, a signed autographed picture of our fearless leaders, Bennett and Eddie. It really changed my life. It sits actually right up above the computer where I record all this stuff. I take it with me when I go hunting. I take it with me when I go fishing. I take it with me when I go to work. It goes everywhere with me. Some people have an EDC pocket knife. I have an EDC picture of Bennett and Eddie. I would really strongly suggest you back us and keep the good work that we're doing coming. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon. Thanks for leaving us reviews on iTunes. And we'll talk to you next week.